Hey, hi. How are you? My name is Bern. I'm the 737. How are you?
Fine.
So, well, I've been wanting to come up for a long time, but I never had a chance.
Yeah.
So, how are you guys doing after Sunday?
After Sunday?
Yeah, with the crash, because usually for the controllers it's pretty tough.
Yes, yes. Of course.
How is he? Is he okay?
It's okay, it's okay.
Did he take some break or a little vacation?
No vacation.
He didn't take a vacation.
No? But he's all right?
He's all right.
Okay.
He's approach controller as well.
Oh, all right. But who were they talking to? Tower or approach?
The flight just departed. As you know, after we go into the approach.
Oh, right. All right.
Communication with the approach controller.
I really hope we get some answers.
Yeah,
Because it's really, really horrible. Very bad.
I think he's affected. He's again.
The controller.
Yeah.
Well, of course, because at some point in time, no one's talking to you anymore, right?
Yeah.
And they just because. Well, how is your radar working? But this because when you're, was he being tracked?
it's actually on the...
Yeah, it's a different floor, right?
Yeah, first floor.
And were they able to track the aircraft that low, or does it not?
AC service and service, but
It was on the
it was
screen
on the
outside.
screen, I think.
Right.
As you know, this is also the same as approach controller.
Oh, right. Okay. So in other words, so they could see that he was. So
He-
obviously he was.
yeah.
He went into the restricted area, right?
Yes, yes.
This
So-
one is
They were
restricted.
saying it.
Yeah, you're.
Yes, on the screen.
They're probably seeing it, and because I know that if I'm flying in any, because I have, yeah, because on my, I have a, on my Jeppesen when I run the GPS, I can see when I'm coming close to it, right? So I can say, okay, I need to go weather, and I'll stay 1 mile away from the restricted area, and then I have a little magenta airplane that I can fly it, right? Because you know everybody gets pretty worried about it.
Yeah.
So I do instructing, and I was trying to find out about, you know, I find that in the company, using Mayday and Pan, they're kind of not very strong with it, right? Did you declare a Pan or a Mayday?
Not actually. He's the flight control program only.
That's all he
He
said.
yeah, he said that.
So in other words,
He was telling me yesterday, when he's airborne, he asked to climb on run heading 14,000 feet.
but that's
And,
but
no, and the and again after some moments, he asked he has a flight control program.
because I'm looking at the data and everything that I can get, and I think either he had something on the takeoff roll, or just going airborne.
yes,
Like
So
within.
he was
I
aware
think
of...
he has a problem. He asked when the controller said turn right as usual. Direct
Yeah, like turn right, direct, whatever.
He asked to maintain run heading 4,000 feet. He gave them that, and after a little while, he asked to return back. He gave them to return 260 heading,
Right.
and he said stand by.
Falling ground.
And
Okay, so in other words, there was.
after that, no, maybe no thing,
So
nothing.
so there was a lot of anxiety then, right?
Yes. He
And-
said stand by.
These are like red one.
When he
Yeah.
started to maintain heading 260.
So yeah, I was spending all day yesterday trying to find all the plots, right? And I was looking at it, and I can see that within 8 seconds after takeoff, he had a problem.
So
Because what was happening is that the speed kept going. And does the radar show what speed he was going? Because on the last chart I have, the plot, he was doing 383 knots.
Yeah.
Was that how fast it showed here?
No, I wasn't on the duty. at that
Because
time.
that's fast. That's like your jet fighters,
Yes.
right? And
But the controller told me when he climbed, he was climbing very fast. As he was climbing on route flight.
yeah.
Yeah, the climb was very, very fast.
Yeah, so that's strange that he was climbing, and then later on he can't climb. And I saw that. So I have a radar plot. It looks like a jet fighter on afterburner. Like you see the speed, it's just going, and then he climbed up, then he leveled off, and then he was bobbing around, right? And the speed, after 2 minutes and 20 seconds, from my calculation, he exceeded the design limit of the airplane. So he already
Yeah.
went past 340 knots. And then my calculations showed that he went up to 383 knots, but he was still climbing. So
Ah.
it's just so strange that all of a sudden it just goes down, right?
Yeah.
And what's the elevation where he impacted? Does anybody know?
He backed the.
Yeah, the terrain elevation?
I think they know the screen shows that.
No, the screen doesn't show the terrain, does it?
The train, no.
No, you will see.
It doesn't show the train. But I don't know if. I think they have it. But I
Yeah.
don't know.
So what I'm thinking. Oh, sorry. Am I bothering you? No. Oh, so I'm looking at my stuff, right? And I'm almost thinking maybe he even had a problem on the takeoff roll,
On the takeoff, maybe
Right?
it can be. Yeah.
right? Takeoff roll, and then he went airborne, and then he couldn't take it. New first officer, and then when you get so busy, you just don't have the words anymore, right?
That's why he asked to maintain and waiting. Maybe that's.
Yeah, and he was just well because he knew that if he goes this way, there's the hill, and if he goes runway heading, it's pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
Right, because our emergency escape procedure is radial 080, and he was tracking that. He ended up, I think, on a heading of 84. So he was in that corridor where it's fairly low, right? And then he saw it. And what was interesting, and in the background noise, there was no alarms. Because if he was going so fast, it's going beep, 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 beep. Or if you're going slow, you hear drrrr. So I'm wondering if that was happening, because if he hits the 340 knots, it's already overspeed on the airplane, right? And then when you get it past the 340 knots, you're getting into test pilot, right?
Yeah.
Like, the wing everything starts to change, right? So I was very interested to find out. So obviously, first the anxiety came later. So obviously, as he was climbing and continuing, the situation was getting worse, because you were saying, stand by, right? And he couldn't accept a heading, so he was probably, you know how it gets, right? You get so overloaded, right, that now it's just like I'm not looking at the screen anymore, I'm just looking at the clock, right? Because later on, I was looking, there were 7 different GPWS warnings the plane would give. So when that plane starts to scream at you, right, pull up, terrain, don't sink, right, that must just be really bad. So anyways, well, I'm glad the controller's okay, because I've worked for 2 airlines where we've had that, right? So I always went and see the controller, because, they're usually very sad, right?
Yeah, he was heartbroken.
Of course. Well, everybody's heartbroken. I was in Cotonou, so I heard about the... Yeah, it's like, yeah, so I was in Cotonou, and about an hour and 10 minutes after the crash, right away I called the crew, because we had a layover. So I called the crew, because we came in on Saturday. We were there all day Sunday and then Monday, and I called the crew right away. I got the hotel to give me a conference room. And then I said, listen, now 1 or 2 of them had already seen something, and I said, look, I can tell you right now, I have a strong suspicion nobody survived, right? And, and then of course they're all very sad and crying and everything, because there's 7 people, but you don't know who it is. You know 2 pilots, and 5 cabin crew. And then we didn't know if there was an engineer or a T4, the security guy, right? So over the day, they started to get more information. And then when we left the next day, then they had somebody had made the pictures of everybody, right? Because they knew who all the deceased people were, right? So it was, and here, nobody even talks about it, right? Like I'm very, very, I try to learn from it, right? So when I'm with the, with the first officers and everything, I'm like, listen, pan, mayday, right? If you say pan, then they know, oops, something serious, right? Right?
Very serious.
Yeah. And mayday, of course, is even super serious.
Yeah.
He didn't declare anything. No pan.
No, yeah. So, I mean, and
So
The
he
control
was
told me-
so busy, probably.
Even he's waiting.
yeah, he's waiting for it. So he's backing
waiting
off.
for him.
Yeah.
He will come back. He disappeared from the radio. They send another aircraft. to
Was it the one
Kafka.
coming from Bangkok?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He go and look, and he said there's nothing. And after that, they send a small aircraft.
So wait a
Damage
minute.
ምንድን ነው ያለው?
So you mean the I thought the Bangkok aircraft saw it.
No, he didn't see it. He said, I don't see anything.
But he probably didn't even know where to look. Because did you have, what was the
I
last?
think they know exactly where he was. They know where
Oh, so the
it's
cord,
appeared.
so because when the transponder stops, you just see the last position,
Yes,
right?
they saw that.
Yeah. So maybe he could have gone so low that he maybe went a little bit
I
further.
think he's, up. You can't see it. I think the aircraft sinks on the
It's
ground.
very far.
No, I know. And I think now we have to wait because everybody's like, oh, steep angle of descent. I don't know if it was that. I don't know because so the aircraft took off and it weighed 72,500 kilograms. It had 12,000 liters of fuel when it crashed, I think, roughly, right? So the good thing is when if you crash and you spill fuel on the dirt like that, a lot of the fuel sinks in and it doesn't burn, right? So that helped. But of course, the impact, some of the calculations that I came up with, somewhere between 700 and 800 kilometers an hour, they hit the ground, right? Nothing is left. So I was at the accident site 3 days ago. So I went over there 3 days ago because I'm Canadian and the Canadian embassy was over there. There are some of the people now, the relatives are coming on the 503 and all this stuff, right? So now you're going to have a lot of these people coming into the city because, where's my boyfriend? Where's my husband, right? And there's nothing left. There's nothing left, right? It's just... So hopefully, I know from our side of the company, his name is Captain Gedlo, he's the flight safety. Then the investigator from the ECAA, they're over there now, but we don't hear anything about anything, right? And this thing with the MCAS, this is going to be very weird and he never said anything about airspeed problems, just flight control.
Yeah.
It's flight control loss.
Yeah. And so it's just very strange, right? And then for the airplane to just keep going faster than the flaps, faster than the airplane can fly, assuming it's true. So that's why I was wondering, because the radar would have the same kind of plot, right?
How did you know the aircraft speed?
Well, there's a couple of radar sites that have the S data, right? So actually, I left my bag on the ground floor. I could show you. So I've been making all sorts of graphs and plotting. And what I've been doing now is I've been doing my takeoffs, and I've been plotting them with the radar plots, right? And then I can see the times. So I could see, okay, up to 80 knots, it took this long. 80 knots to V1 took this long. Then I go up, and it takes this long to get to the acceleration phase, right? And then to go from my flaps to the cleanup takes this long. This is my climb rate, my vertical speed. So I've just been comparing it. And actually, the plots are pretty accurate what I've been downloading from Flight Radar 24.
Flight Radar 24, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm surprised. So today I did 2 more takeoffs and I changed them up a little bit, right? To see if it adapts because, I made it a little bit different flaps and things. So I will go back to the hotel later, and if it's like that, then it's obviously pretty accurate, right? And the flight radar showed the plot, and then it stopped. And then when you look at the landing time in Nairobi, it just says unknown.
Unknown, yeah.
That's what they write.
I saw it, yeah.
Well, guys, I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, sir.
And give him my best condolences. Sorry for him to have to go through it. And I will come up again sometime because it would be good to talk about, like when we deal with ground emergencies. Like if an airplane has a fire or evacuating, right? Because I want
You
to.
want to talk to the control? I can give you his number.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that would be great. Because if you think he wouldn't be too upset. Well, no, I mean it's just.
Our controller, he's a post controller.
Yeah. So I would, if I could, I would